For the first time, a sitting Edo State governor visited his people in London at the EDO SUMMIT UK 2019. The people turned out. The governor turned up. He engaged with the Edos in Diaspora. He discussed our challenges and explained how we can overcome them together.
Institutional reforms is one of the biggest problems we have today, which is very ironic. Is that we don't have institutions. We have powerful men, powerful big individuals. People will come and go, but institutions are what will remain with us.
Thank you everyone for coming to the first Edo Summit in the UK. The governor will be here in 20 minutes and he will not be staying the entire time. Probably spend about 2 hours with us. So we thought we'll get proceedings on the way. You are given a SWOT form in your hand indicating top 7 concerns from members of the Edo diaspora. You are going to tick 1, and we're going to count the forms at the end of the day, and whoever, an inclusive decision, that will be our message to the governor, whether it's security, whether it's health, whether it's education, road, but we will count it. So please, can you spend time to think about it and tick just 1. There's also the first Edo Confidential magazine, for the sample for you to be scrolling through before the governor comes. But we're going to rush through with proceedings, and Pastor Monday Bude will be doing the opening prayers for us.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Because of time, let me just go straight to the prayer. But I want every one of us to go home with that there is a great need for we, the Edo people, to unite in United Kingdom to rebuild our place of birth. Thank you all. Can we just please rise? Lord, as we gather, we ask for your divine spirit, that spirit of unity, spirit of oneness, spirit of power, that as we discuss today, we will all be united together in one accord. Father God, give us that love above all. The spirit of love, irrespective of what is happening among us. Give us that love to love ourselves and see ourselves as a people of Edo State, that one thing that binds us together in Jesus' mighty name. We thank you for the leaders that are traveled from Benin City, the governors, the commissioners, and all other persons that have come from far, that they are now here. Lord, we give you all the glory. May you alone take all the glory through your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Lord, let your Holy Spirit rule us today. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, this summit is declared open.
I stand here today, this afternoon, to welcome all of us to the first Edo Conference and Summit in the United Kingdom. Today being the 22nd of June, 2019. My name is Loretta Oduware Ogbo Oko. I am proudly and unapologetically Benin. I welcome the people of the state, and like Mr. Iyamu has said, this is something that has been in each and everyone's mind for a long time. However, it has come to fruition today. I will keep this address short because I'm here to introduce one man who has worked silently behind the scene. One man who understands the meaning of bridging gaps. One man who knows that rulership is not the same thing as leadership. One man who understands that when the followers call, the leaders need to engage. As a run-up to this program, a lot of people put forth their thoughts, some in text messages, some in writing. And one team was consistent. And that is the fact that Emahi and Edo State have been thinking of how do we come together, no matter how small or how big, and interact with our leaders. Everybody had thought about it in one way or the other. And today we are pleased that it is being manifest. It doesn't matter if it's been manifest in a hall, or it doesn't matter if it's been manifest in the Dorchester. What matters is what lies in the hearts of the people. And I will ask all of you to join me to give a resounding welcome to the commissioner. Before the governor comes, the commissioner needs to speak. If I leave here today and the commissioner for arts, culture, and tourism, as well as the diaspora in Edo State doesn't talk, I will cry. You know why? Because that man understands the meaning of bridging. He understands the meaning of engaging with people. I present to you Commissioner Osazero.
The governor believes so much in diaspora, his brothers and his sisters, his co-Edolites in diaspora, and that is why he created that department under my ministry. He believes so much in you people, and that's why he made time to come, even though the house is on fire in Edo State. But by the grace of God, by your support of everybody here, he will prevail. What the governor stands for in Edo State, I'm saying it because I'm privileged to be serving his administration, not as a sycophant, I'm glad that he's not here. I'm not saying it because he needs to like me. I'm saying the truth. By the time he finishes 8 years in office, more than 20% of us here will relocate back. Because Edo will be very safe for us. That I can tell you. The man means so well for us. He doesn't give money as the other politicians, but instead he's spending the money in developing the state for us. If you ask your people back home, those of us that have not traveled, back to Edo State for a while, you see most of those roads have been tarred. The schools, most of the schools are getting, new facelift. My office, the Ministry of Art, Culture, Tourism, and Diaspora Affairs, is having a facelift. If you come there, you will not believe that you're in Benin. It's better than most of the offices here in London. That I can tell you. That building was built by Dr. Samuel Ogbamudia of blessed memory over 40 years ago. And that building was abandoned. Nobody used it. Instead, previous governments, in their wisdom, spent money to rent private buildings for office use. So the governor decided to spend money in renovating, in refurbishing, and putting the buildings, Block C, Block D, and the judges' quarters into use. My office is better than most of offices here in London. That I can tell you. So, I'm not here to speak much. I'm just here to say thank you, to appreciate, the organizers of this event. When they called me about 3 months ago that they were doing this, I said it's going to be difficult because the governor, I'm sure, will mention it. We don't want to spend taxpayers' money in coming to London or abroad for something that will not get back. Won't get back, to the development of the state. He asked me, say, Commissioner, we are going to London. It's going to cost us money, tickets, accommodation, and otherwise, even though it's very prudent. I would rather use that money to do one road than spending $20,000 or less than that to travel. I said, sir, our people in diaspora needs you. I've had stakeholders meeting in London, in Belgium, in Canada, in the US. I travel and I meet our people. I say it's not the same when you come to interact with them. It would be nice for you to come. And again, my culture ambassador, Jos Ehi, I've been doing a lot in the UK, doing his best to organize our Edo people. So this is a good opportunity for us to appreciate the Edo culture ambassador in the UK, Joseph Ehigiamoso, is here in our midst. We might not have 200 people here today, but the number of people here, I'm happy with them. And the news is going to go around. The whole world is going to know that he had interactive session with very important people, with very important personalities from Edo State. I will talk briefly about my ministry. We all know that Edo State is richly blessed with, the culture. Our cultural heritage is second to none in the world. I'm very proud. I'm glad that we have a prince here in our midst. He will testify to that. And I tell people all over the world that I'm proud to be a Benin son because we are blessed. God used that culture to bless us. We have the richest cultural heritage in the world. Just name it. And as well as the most revered and undiluted monarch in the world. You know, the next kingdom you talk about is British Kingdom. But again, the UK, they can put their sister or put their daughter or the Prince Williams or Prince, what's his name, the senior son. No, not Williams. Charles said he's not going to be a king, so his son should take it. That can never happen in Benin. You know, so where you have a kingdom that you can just alternate and pick whoever you want to pick, you can't compare it to our own, where we know that the first son is the heir apparent, and it's been like that for many years to come. This year, we are planning to have we are hosting National Festival for Arts and Culture in Benin City, come the 19th to the 26th of October. It has never happened before. This is the 32nd edition of its 40 years existence in Benin. So the 35 states and Abuja and other neighboring countries will be with us in Benin City from the 19th to the 26th of October. The theme of this year is our royalty, our pride. And His Royal Majesty is very happy. He has endorsed it. He has given his blessing. The governor has endorsed it as well. I'm very proud that this will be happening during our time. We are going to use the opportunity to showcase our rich cultural heritage to the world. And I'm looking forward to that. Again, our Excellency does not like spending money. He's very prudent. You know, if his previous government, maybe by now, I'll be a multi-billionaire with all the work that I'm doing. But I'm happy. They say good name is better than wealth and riches. And I know my money will come someday. So we're going to look for sponsorship. And not just giving us money. If you have a business and you want to key into this, you know, this is a sponsorship brochure. We'll give opportunity for your business to promote your business while you are there during the 6 days period. The purpose of that is to promote our culture and help our local entrepreneurs as well in Benin City. The people selling pure water, our brothers and sisters in the hospitality business, the hoteliers, because we're expecting over 2 million people. Where are they going to stay? They're not staying in Kame House. They are going to stay in the hotels. So we look at that, use that to help our people in the our entrepreneurs in the hospitality business, our people in transportation business, our local SME, small, medium entrepreneurs to sell their little products. We are all, social media friendly. We use Facebook, we use Twitters, WhatsApp and all that. So we need to say a lot of positive things about the governor. If he's impressed today, which I'm sure he will, there's a lot he's going to tell us and let you people know. So we need to continue to support His Excellency Godwin Obaseki. It means well for Edo State. It's a God sent to us. So if we miss it now, it's going to take us back 50 years. I have the privilege of speaking to Oshomole, Oshomole, His Excellency, a few months ago, and I told you the same thing. Say, sir, when you brought Obaseki, we didn't know him. You said Obaseki is somebody that can manage the economy of the state, somebody that can pay the salary, somebody that would not rely on federal allocation from Abuja, but would be more interested in bringing investors to Edo State. And that is exactly what he has done. All the salaries of, the salaries are paid up to date, the pensioners are paid up to date, and he's still doing a lot of infrastructural development. Specialist hospital is being opened now, if you are not aware. And what he said, instead of letting people rush into it, it's being test run. So it's just for a referral purpose now. So they refer you from clinic, those of you that are in the doctors, they refer you from this clinic, the health centers, to the place where the doctors will treat you. They are testing all the equipment and all that. Within the next 1 month, I'm sure it will be in running full capacity. So if you want to ask questions about that, I just give you heads up. The governor will be able to answer that. So I want to say, a very good evening to everybody. You're welcome. There's a lot to learn, but time is fast spent. The governor came in this morning, hoping that we'll start by 1:30 that was on program. But I just told him I wouldn't want him to come here when the people are not here. So if we see our friends that are coming, it's not all-night party, let them come. But I think we have enough crowd. I've told him that we're ready to have him, and he's on his way. So I want to say a very big thank you. Have a good evening, and enjoy your day with His Excellency. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. There's a person here that all Edo events we've been running. It's 3 years plus now. He has always contributed to make sure the community is able to project itself in a positive way. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Idemudia will come up and tell us about joining hands with the governor to improve Edo State. Dr. Taiwo Idemudia.
I will not waste your time in saying you can collaborate with each other to garner direct foreign investments and investments in projects in Edo State, so you are counted amongst those who have done their duty. You know that, I know that. Thirdly, I will not spend time on the issue of welfare support, which many of you have provided to our compatriots, especially through your respective associations. Question then is, what are the true contributions you can make to make Edo State even better than it is? What do you have to do to generate growth in a place that is endowed with adequate human capital, endowed with the desire to do well and even do better, and endowed with a culture, as the Honorable Commissioner said a moment ago, that is the pride of every citizen and the envy of every other Nigerian? To answer that question quite honestly, I think you need to look at 4 basic issues that are the basis for development. And when you know what these are, then you will begin to think of where you will be able to make your own contribution. I will also suggest, in addition to what you already have in mind, what can you do to truly help development in the state? All other ethnic groups in Edo State pull together and say we will have a center where we will invest in the collection of data, where we will reach out to the Edo State government, its ministries and agencies, and reach out here to ODI, reach out to the chambers of commerce at home, and let them know that you have people here not because you want to be paid, but because as a group of people who love their state, we want to be sure that those people who need information from each other to facilitate our business activities, there is a point they can.
like to remind our special guests, everybody here, why we're here today. We have a lot of programs planned, but we've quickly moved along to save time. We're here today for two reasons. Reason number one is to celebrate the kindness and generosity of Edos in diaspora. This week, a year ago, on June 16th, the UN inaugurated the International Day of Family Remittance, a day set aside to appreciate the efforts of Africans who have contributed to the well-being of their families and people at home. Thanks, James. Edo people in diaspora have stopped helping their dads, moms, and families at home. Edos in diaspora are now doing random acts of kindness. We're not connected to the people we send money to. We're not connected to the homes we build. We're not connected to anything we do in Edo State. We just want to do good. Edos in diaspora are in the front of the line of those the UN wants to recognize and appreciate for their home contributions. They have been relentless in their contributions to Edo State. They do it without asking for attention or gratification. But Western Union will tell you, Edo State has the largest remittance across the Western country of money going into Nigeria. The reason number two why we're here is to reconcile our kindness in Edo State with the vision of the Edo State government, in order to find out how we can do more for the Edo people and Edo State. At last year's UN inauguration of the International Day of Family Remittance, Governor Godwin Obaseki was there, and he challenged Edo people worldwide to key into his vision for Edo State. That was a year ago. I think today the vision of the government is a lot clearer for all of us to see. This is London. This is a free country. If you don't want to do what I say, don't do it. But if you want to, can we give 3 bozas to this governor, please? Boza! Boza! Boza!
Oba Tokwe. I see in the audience some of my very good friends, very distinguished and accomplished Edo people. First, Dr. Edemudia. Good afternoon. Prince Ekman Ediawa, and a host of all of you who have kept faith with our people. I decided to make this, to honor this invitation, not just because it's the first anniversary of the International Day for Family Remittances, but to begin to identify with most of you who have organized yourselves in Europe and America, in fact in the diaspora. A lot of you have distinguished yourselves by not just accomplishing professionally, but the way you've conducted yourselves, using or relying on the key values that differentiate us as a people. Just listening to the introduction, the last speaker made a very, very poignant point, which is he talked about remittances from those of you in the diaspora back home. There is no doubt in my mind that without the resources you send back, I don't know what would have happened to us as a state. Because if you look at Edo State and Nigeria as a whole, it's become one country where production has almost ceased, and people just sit down and rely on handouts, either from the federal government on a monthly basis, where the states have to go and get collections from the federal government, or from you in the diaspora sending money home. There's a lot of reasons why we find ourselves in this situation. But as a government, we've decided not to lament, because lamenting about a situation does not resolve that situation. We, as a government, have decided to take very deliberate steps and actions to get ourselves out of this situation. We have not always been like this. These were not the values or virtues that helped us build the empire we had 600 years ago or 700 years ago. These were not the values or virtues that helped us become the only region in Nigeria that on its own pulled out of another region to be self-sustaining. But we believe from the experience we've had, particularly in the last 2.5, going 3 years, that it is possible. It is possible to make Edo great again. Amen. But that it can only happen with you working and connecting with us in a very purposeful and progressive manner. And so this afternoon, I'm going to spend about 30 minutes or an hour to just interact with you, to tell you what we're doing, why we are doing what we're doing, and our expectations and hopes for the future. I am not going to bore you with the background, but you all know that if any state in Nigeria has the hope and potential of being a great country, a great nation state, Edo state is that one state. And I tell people that the Benin Empire was not a historical accident. The factors that led to the evolution and development and sustenance of that empire, those same factors still exist today. Even more so in the state of Nigeria. Because in terms of location, we are the best located state in Nigeria. And you know, for those of you in real estate, everything is about location, location, location. You cannot go from the western part of Nigeria to the east or to the oil-producing south-south without going through Edo. And also to the north. We are a node. And that means that all the transport networks, the main trunk roads that carry human traffic must go through Edo. All the infrastructure that moves electricity power across the country passes through Edo. The main gas network, as Dr. Edemode and co will tell you, that moves energy from the Delta and co to the rest of the country passes through Edo. The main fiber networks to move telecommunication across the country passes through Edo. So this is one place where all of these structures, infrastructure, interconnect. And so there's nothing that is not possible there. As if that is not enough, if you look at us as a state with our almost 20 million hectares of land, we have one of the most diversified vegetations in the country. We have swamp, we have rainforest, which helps us produce value crops like oil palm, rubber, cocoa, timber. And we have savanna. That means that there's nothing we cannot cultivate in Edo State because of the range of vegetation we have. As if that is not enough also, as Dr. Edemode will tell you, we are one of the few states in the country. In fact, we are the state with the largest onshore gas reserves in Nigeria. Most of the other gas is in the swamps or the deep offshore. That means in Edo State, you can practically just move a generating plant by a gas field and you have electricity. So with all of these factors, we don't have any excuse to be where we are. And the reason why we've been where we are is simply put, poor leadership. And so for the last 3 years in particular, we just said to ourselves and made a commitment, let us change our fortunes. Because we cannot blame God for where we are, for what's going on. We have to blame ourselves. And so for us, we said, look, what are our aspirations? We said, we want to develop a modern and progressive state, a modern and progressive Edo state, where every citizen is empowered with the opportunity to live his or her own life to its fullest. That you should only leave home because out of choice, not out of necessity. And you should be able to come back whenever you want to pursue your dreams. Now, that is our aspiration. Structurally, locationally, it is so. But we want to make it the number one economic hub in Nigeria, because we have much more than even Lagos that is number one today. Such that we can be the first point of call for both local and international investors. And when we say investors, it's that you all live here. How much does government do? Government just provides the basic requirements, regulation, basic infrastructure, and it's people like you, out of your efforts, that government gets tax revenues to run government. Is that not so? That's what happens everywhere in the world. Nobody, the borough here doesn't wake up in the morning and waiting for Whitehall for sustenance and survival. And we are aspiring to make sure that we improve the quality of the workforce of Edo State, such that anybody who wants to come and do work in Nigeria, who wants to come and produce, who wants to come and provide services, you now know one place where you have the best quality manpower is Edo State, because it has always been so. And we have to, we don't have a choice, because if you look at the rate of population growth in Nigeria, if we don't do anything, we're already in trouble, but it will be catastrophic. But that population advantage we have, particularly in a state like Edo, if we do not turn it into a positive advantage, very soon, as you begin to see, it's going to be an albatross for us. And therefore, we have to insist, we have to continue to focus. What do we do to create employment? What do we do to create work? It's because people are not working and are not any incomes. That's why they're putting pressure on you here. Send us money, send money home, send money home. If they had something doing, the money you will send will not just be for sustenance, for feeding. It will be for your own investments, so that when you retire and you want to come back home, there will be something for you to do at home. And whatever we do, we talk about what it used to be in the past. We're not able to sustain what we had. That's why we're where we are today. So whatever we do today, as we begin to rebuild, we must think about sustaining what we are creating, not only for our children, for our children's children, and our forebears to come. And so when we sat back to think about it, when I got into office, I said, look, what are the key issues? How do we even think about getting out of where we are, out of our situation? So the issues are numerous. The things to do are uncountable. You can't do everything at the same time. So you've got to think about what to do and how to do it. So you've got to say, what are the most important things you must do first? Because if you don't do the most important things first, you will not be able to do the other things that may not be as important. So we looked at it and said there are 6 key areas we have to look at if Edo is to make it. The first, we said, is institutional reforms. Because one of the biggest problems we have today, and which is very ironic, is that we don't have institutions. We have powerful men, powerful individuals. People will come and go, but institutions are what will remain with us. And if anybody, any group in Nigeria today understands what institutional arrangement or institutional survival means, it should be the Edo people. Look at our Enigis. They tell you the palace has been there for 900 years. Obas go, Obas come. The institution has been there, and it kept us going. What happened? After the invasion, after the introduction of colonial rule and colonial structures, we just found out that we woke up and everything just almost disappeared. So we've got to go back to building institutions. If we do not have the civil service that works, if we do not have those people who act as custodians, nothing we do today will work. I mean, think about it here. Every day somebody wakes up to make sure the roads are clean, right? To make sure the traffic flows, to make sure that the water supply gets to your homes, to make sure that electricity gets to your homes. When it snows, somebody's there to clean up because there's an institution of government that works. So if we do not have that, then whatever we're doing is going to be built on nothing. And that is what we have seen. And I'll explain later why some of the challenges we're facing today. Because we're saying, I don't matter. I only matter to the extent I'm there for 8 years. But the office of governor will continue to be there after I have gone. So institutions are important. So we must, as a government, begin to think about putting something in place so that when we are not there, other people come, they'll use it and so on and so forth across the board. The other is, why do we want institutions? So that we can propel economic growth. I've told you about all the advantages that we have in terms of agriculture, in terms of location, in terms of... We have those advantages. So we must think, how do we take real benefits of those advantages for our economic growth? The other area is infrastructure. You can have all these benefits. You can have the best land. You can have the best location. But if you do not have infrastructure, if there are no roads, if there's no energy, if you don't have the public buildings, the things that you need, you cannot exploit these resources. So infrastructure is so key. We must build infrastructure because if you want to move goods and services, move human beings, you need infrastructure. The fourth is people. In fact, this should have been number one, but I just took it for granted. Because at the end of the day, it's about people. If you do not educate the children, if you do not give people health care, then what is life about? You are here today because of the education you received. So the emphasis has to be on people, because people make money. Money don't make people. So focusing on our social economic welfare is very, very important. In fact, it's our number one priority before everything else. Then the environment. What has happened to us is scary. It's frightening. Our ecosystem has been almost destroyed. At independence, we inherited about 635,000 hectares of reserved forests. Today, we do not have 130,000 left. And so you wonder, why erosion? Why are people having strange diseases? Our water bodies are polluted. The last time we took count, we had almost 6,000 pieces of Edo artworks in museums across the world. You've seen some internet clips on the extent of the Benin earthenwares, the Benin moat, that it's much more extensive than the ancient walls of China. There's so much about us that we are still discovering and which we can sell to the world. So, in a sense, these are the 6 planes in which we think about how to regenerate and reenact Edo State. And so, for us, we say, look, what are the outcomes we see? First, if If we focus on economic development, then we should now be able to measure growth. Today in Nigeria, we're number 7 in terms of GDP ranking. My goal is to move us to number 2 before I leave as governor. In terms of internal revenue generation, I think today we are number 3 or 4. My goal is to move us to number 2. I promise that in my first 4 years, first term of office, I'll create a minimum of 200,000 jobs. Today we've exceeded 100,000. We said we were going to build world-class, one of the outcomes we seek is to build world-class infrastructure. And we have started that process. We're doing a lot of the inner city roads, we're doing outer roads, but it's not about roads today, it's about having a plan to build roads. It's about having a plan to build the future. Because if you don't plan, then it will not happen. We are working on several transactions which we'll talk about. And one of the other outcomes, like I said, is to make sure that we have the best civil service in Nigeria. We've started work. As I speak today, there are people on ground who are doing that. And when you come to Benin, you'll see that the infrastructure to house civil servants, we're making it world class. We're rebuilding the secretariat. We find that, what is strange is that I am not doing anything new. I'm reconnecting to a plan. The last time we had a plan was in 1973. That plan expired in 1993, and we haven't had any plan since. No development plan. So I stumbled into the secretariat and said, why are civil servants working this way? I looked behind and I said, there were blocks of accommodation that were designed 40 years ago, and they were abandoned. I said, well, what happened? It's like development just stopped after General Gbamudia. And by the grace of God, we're rebuilding. And I said, for me, they say, what do I want to be my legacy? What do I want my legacy to be? In one word, I want my legacy to be that I'm able to leave behind or create for Edo a plan, an action plan for the future. So in a nutshell, I'll just say first I don't want to spend this afternoon, beating our chest and trying to tell you about our achievements and what we've done. No, that's not the purpose. It's to have an engagement with you, to explain and assure you that it is possible. Yes. It is possible. In 3 years, we've done so much, and we know it is possible. It is not money. It is not money. It is first the willpower, the conviction, and the commitment. So let me just focus quickly because I see, when I asked Loretta what they wanted me to talk about, she sent me a whole list of things people were interested in. And so let me, around these 6 thematic areas I talked about, tell you the opportunities what we've done and the opportunities we see. First, in the area of human capacity development, our focus is education, basic education. Basic education, as far as I'm concerned, is the most important investment we can and we are making. So we've introduced what we call Edo Best, which is a sense to just reenact basic education. So after the first 9 years of learning, just like in those days when you have your standard 6, you are made for life. You can become anything you want to become. So that's first 9 years of learning. We're committing everything we have to it. It's costing us $40 per child per year, about 16,000 naira. It's expensive, but it's worth doing because the 250,000 children in my schools today can now read. within the first term, they can read, they can write. We're training their teachers. And the key is simple. And when I explain in the next few slides, it's just about first using technology today to manage the schools. Giving respect to the teacher and the head teacher. Making sure that, because when we came, what we found was the part of the problems were the teachers were not even being paid. So they were doing rotation. They say, you come to school today, Monday to Tuesday, Wednesday. Then Wednesday to Friday, she will go to the market and trade just to make up. So even when we started paying them regularly, they forgot that they were getting salaries regularly and they just were still doing what they needed to do. So the teachers were never there. But with the project, the EDO Best project, when we then enumerated the schools, we then GPS located all our schools and gave them devices, the teachers' devices like that. We can tell when a teacher is in class or not in class. So the teachers don't have a choice but to come to school. And when they come to school, what they will teach that child that day is already preloaded in their system. And when they don't complete their lesson notes for that day, we know. So the key is was to get them and now retrain them. And we found out that 70% of them are good. And then also motivate them. So in Edo, the teachers are so proud, they tell you, I am a digital teacher. And the World Bank has just done an initial survey. And it's amazing that after one term, these children are now learning. And I'll just quickly tell you about a story, very interesting story. A woman walked up to me after we did the first pilot. And she said, oh, Governor, God will bless you. She kept saying, praying. And I said, look, okay, what is the problem? He said, I have this son, 6 years old. He says, since you people started this EDO Best, this child does not let us rest at home. He's the first to wake up in the morning, wants to make sure you give him his bath. God help you if you don't take this child to school on time. Your own life will be miserable. Because this child wants his name to be on the character board. And he comes back from school, he's excited, he's singing his rhymes, he has books. Because for the 250,000 children we have today, I have more than 1 million books for them. And then when she was, I said, okay, so what is the problem? She said, he has a brother who is in primary 4. He said, they are no longer socializing. Because this one in primary 1, because this was when we just did the pilot for a few schools. He said, this one in primary 1, when he comes back from school, he wants to read, but the brother wants to play ball, and therefore they don't interact anymore. But what is even worrying her more is that this one, after one term, is now reading, and the one in primary 4 is not able to read. So she has come to ask me, can she move the one in primary 4 to join the brother in primary 1? I said, no, don't worry. We're going to make the investments, and today we have a program where we're trying to teach those kids who have, who didn't get the benefits. We call it teaching at the right level. I'm putting them together without making them feel shy or feel inferior to try and catch up. I believe this is the greatest investment we can make, and we are making that investment. Then the other thing about education is we're trying to focus on technical education. Because there's no point going to school saying you have all these degrees and you can't find work. Or you can't even help yourself, you can't employ yourself. So we're focusing on technical education. Here again, it's not new. I went to Benin. The first assignment, the day I took over, was I went to Benin Technical College. And I almost wept. Most of you saw the clips. But I want to thank God today that we have rebuilt. And we are rebuilding several of such technical schools. So by the time you get to JSS, you have the option. And by the time you finish JSS 3, after your first 9 years, you can either take the technical route or you take the academic route. But my view is that by the time you finish your first 9 years of schooling in Edo, you must have a skill. You must have learned something that can take you through life. Whether you want to use it or not is a different matter. So in terms of healthcare, that's from what from the experience we've gathered in primary education, in basic education, we just found that the same solution is what we're trying to apply in the healthcare space. Focus on primary healthcare. Because if you pick the diseases early, then you have a chance of reducing the incidence of mortality. If you don't vaccinate the children on time, if you don't take care of maternal the women when they're pregnant, if you don't do those basic things, if you don't give immunization, then you create a health situation for the country and for your citizens. The health professionals, the nursing staff that are properly trained, you have the technology so that when someone walks through there, you can take the records of that. You can take the pressure, the pulse, take the vitals, log them in, and at some point the doctor will look at it from the back end and say, okay, call this person, how did you treat this case? So that is what we're investing in. We've just finished the first pilot of 20 and we want to roll out the 200 in the next 2-3 years. At the end of the day, healthcare is expensive. Somebody needs to pay. So we're saying, look, let's behave like normal people as they do it everywhere in the world. Let's not deceive ourselves that government, which does not have the money, is going to pay for healthcare. Just save a bit. So we're introducing health insurance. So even if it is 50 naira a day you save, in a week it's 250 naira, in a month it's 1,000 naira, in a year it's 12,000 naira. That is enough premium, at least to take care of your basic ailments. That we're pushing. For youths, it's big. You've trained them, but I'll talk about you have to create sporting activity. You have to keep them busy. If you don't keep them busy, you know what happens. So we're building mini stadia in all the local governments. We're introducing sports. We're trying to bring in a lot of sporting activities. We're revamping Bendel Insurance, Edo Queens. We're hosting the National Sports Festival. We're doing those things to just get them to begin to feel connected and feel that somebody cares. In the case of institutional reforms, like I said, we're working on the civil service. When I came, everybody wants to become a permanent secretary. So you're getting phone calls, notes from everybody, please appoint this person APS. I said, well, I don't understand how that works. You just can't give the responsibility for your system based on those criteria. So I said, for you to even be considered, the Administrative Staff College of Nigeria came in and conducted tests. So if you do not score above 50% on the test conducted by the Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, forget it. You will not even be considered. It doesn't matter who is giving you the note. So we've just begun to find out that it's not that everybody's bad, but there are good people in the system. Just introduce merit, and you find out they begin to pop up. Then also we then said, let us now teach people. Because for 20, 30 years, people have not been taught what to do. If you don't train someone, how do you expect the person to perform? If you don't motivate them, you don't put a system that is transparent, that is fair. If its system is only as man, no man, then it doesn't encourage those who know to come up. So that is, what we've done. So as I speak today, I have a team in Benin that are just, working on training such that you cannot move from one step to another. Not to talk about one cadre to another without going through a series of training. I've just knocked down the old training school. We're completing now building of an ultra-modern civil service training academy. With all the technologies. In the area of infrastructure, the good thing about infrastructure, you don't talk about it. You either see it, it's either there or it's not there. If you don't, I don't have to talk about roads. The roads, you can go and see for yourself what we're doing with roads. But how did we do it? Because when you think about it, what is there in constructing a road? At the end of the day, the road, everything you need to construct a road is there. The design, you need a human being to do the design. The laterite is there. The aggregate is there. The cement is there. All you need is the equipment, which you depreciate over time. So why is it so expensive to build roads? So I called all the contractors. I said, you know what? By the grace of God, I didn't come here to make money. I want to understand, why is this road, why does a kilometer of road you've just designed, why is it 300 million? Explain. Why is it not 100? I just found out that at the end of the day, because of some people, lack of rigor, over the years, what you could spend building 3 roads, you spend building 1. So you're able to do more with what you have. But I hope you know that all these steps, all these decisions have consequences. And those are some of the consequences you're seeing today. We are building infrastructure, we're building roads, we're building public buildings, we're trying to reclaim green areas. So we've got to think about transportation, because everybody moving across Nigeria moves through. So we've got to so we decided to work with consultants to build a transportation master plan, and also see how we can now connect the state, connect the city first, and then connect the states, and connect all the traffic that's coming into space. So we're building a central bus terminal. Like everywhere else, you expect that everybody, once you go to a location, you should be able to get to any part of the city, and then have such terminals or terminals spread across the place. We're working on electricity. You heard the famous altercation with the MD of BDC. How can I? For me, how could we invest so much in a state in generation? In Benin City alone, we have a generating capacity of almost 1,000 megawatts. Yes. In Ihovo by the bypass, we have the NIPP, it's 450 megawatts. We have Azura, which we invested in, it's another 50 megawatts. That's 900 megawatts installed. Yes. The total requirements of Edo is not up to 100 megawatts. So why are we in darkness? You get it? Why are we in darkness? Well, it's part of the things we're trying to unwind and resolve about Nigeria, about the whole privatization. But in the meantime, because we have gas in Olugbo, we've gone into arrangements and transactions to just quickly see how we can get other people to build, to help us generate, so that we can at least, while the federal government is trying to sort out the big elephant in the room in terms of the distribution company, let us start doing something. Like I said, let's stop lamenting and begin to do something. And by the grace of God, before the end of this year, they are now, as I speak, they're installing. We have bought 5 megawatts from what they're installing now. That 5 megawatts will be used to power government buildings during the day and to power the street lights in the city at night. Before the end of the year, that should come on stream. In terms of broadband, we're working with a company called Main One, the major fiber company. And believe it or not, between them and Facebook, they got money. And in this year alone, we have built more than a 400-kilometer fiber ring around Benin City and some cities in Edo State. So we're ready to go. We're ready to get connected to the world. And so in terms of interconnectivity, Benin City will be the most connected city in terms of fiber in the country as we speak today. So, like I said, so we're looking at service infrastructure like electricity, like broadband. We're also looking at social infrastructure like housing. Because when we came, we just found out the last real housing estate that was ever completed were the ones designed by Obamudia 40 years ago. Nothing has happened since then, nothing major. So we found land, we went into partnership with a company called Mixed Africa, and they designed it, and they're now building 1,800 housing, a gated community. And for those of you who have not taken an interest, I encourage you to. And this community, this is going to be, a gated community. It's called Emoton Gardens Estate. We're going to have all the utilities, infrastructure, security, 24/7 electricity, and all, water and what have you. It's the first 100 lots are ready. I think most of them have been sold. And we are working with the developers to see how they can provide financing so that we can rapidly build out the rest. But the big great thing about this estate, what I realized, 80% to almost 85% of the materials we are using in building that estate all come from Benin City or from Edo State. From the laterite, the sand, the cement, the roofing sheets, the timber members, the the ceramic tiles, the sanitary fittings, the doors, everything is manufactured in Edo. 80% of what we're using. So things are happening. I mean, yes, they're being manufactured by Chinese people, but they're there. In the area of the economy, which you're talking about, which you are more interested in, Edo was built on the back of agriculture. So we're going back to agriculture. And we are lucky because we can deal, our land supports value crops like oil palm, rubber, timber, cocoa. So working with the central bank, we have now designated or made available 112,000 hectares of degraded forest land. This is forest that is now bush, which is reserved, and made that available from, I think, some in Ovia, some in Oriomo, some in Ohuode, for the new CBN, for the new program on oil palm, which the CBN is going to support and put money into. Why this is particularly, why the story of palm oil is painful, is if, as you all recall, way back, palm oil was originally from our first seedlings were taken out of our place years ago. That's what we use in trading with the outside world as far back as 200 years ago. In the 60s, the Malaysians came to Benin City, the NIFO, to do a joint research with Nigerians on improved seedlings. We found oil, crude oil after that. We stopped pursuing the research. The Malaysians took those seedlings to their country, performed a miracle with them, and changed the fortunes of oil palm. Then their sister country, Indonesia, because Indonesia had more land, so the Malaysians, particularly the Chinese Malaysians, now took most of their investments into Indonesia. The ironic thing is that as at 1994, Nigeria's GDP was four times that of Indonesia. In 1994. We're not talking about 1994 when we're doing June 12. Our GDP as a country was 4 times that of Indonesia. As at this year, Indonesia's GDP is 5 times that of Nigeria. Last year, what they earned from oil palm and oil palm related products was more than what we earned from crude oil last year. So it tells you that one product, which is indigenous to us, some people took away. Look at how it's transformed their lives and their economy. Why can't we do the same? So we're focusing on all palm, we're focusing on cassava. As we speak, today, we've already prepared about 4,000 hectares of land for people. So we just go in there and say, look, you want us to help you? We'll move the bulldozers, we'll clear your land for you. At least that takes care of the basic, so you don't have to spend money. You'll pay us when you start cultivating. We'll give you seedlings or, seedlings of whatever you're cultivating, and then give you an off-take contract that when you finish cultivating, we'll buy from you. We'll bring people who will buy. Because we have advantage in things like cassava. So whatever you grow in terms of cassava today will be purchased. And the mechanization is being put in place, extension services are being put in place. And one of the things we've done, I'm sure on the online you'll be hearing all sorts of shouts, I closed down this school, I closed down that school. Those were not schools. They were just scam centers. They were scam centers where people just set up things, set up school in the name of government. They don't teach these children anything, pretend to them that the schools are accredited, and they're not, most of the time. And they just don't impart any knowledge that even helps these children get jobs when they finish school. So I said, no, I'm not for pretense. So I shut down the College of Education in Igoraki, and I said, look, I now have one state college of agriculture, 3 campuses, we're rebuilding. I called Presco, I called Okomo, I called NIFO. I said, all of you come and be partners. And as government, when we train people, who's going to employ them? So why are those people not part of the training? So if we're serious about agriculture, then we should just do what is right and stop playing politics with the future of our children. So we've done, so agriculture is key, but we just don't want to just cultivate crops. We also want to process and manufacture. So manufacturing is also very important for us. And like I said, God has given us everything. So we've acquired about almost 1,000 hectares of land around the Iyano access to Onsapele Road. We've done a design of the Benin Industrial Park. What is great about this location is it's sitting on a gas field. So the energy you require for the industries to run already exists there. And the response has just been phenomenal. Phenomenal. And by the grace of God, first quarter next year, we'll start construction. And once we are able to achieve that, Edo will never be the same again. We'll go on and on and on and on, but let me just try and wind down and end up by just telling you that we are doing things in the area of environment. We've set up a separate forestry commission to just focus on our forests alone. We've gotten experts. In fact, I was talking to a friend who traveled with me today and dropped me off this morning. We're just finalizing arrangements to retrain forest guards. Retrain forest. And it's important that we retrain forest guards, not only to help preserve the regeneration of forestry, our forests we're doing, but also to provide security. Because most of the kidnapping cases we have today, the victims are taken into the forests. The police and the soldiers don't know the forest, that they don't like to go in there. But that's the domain of the forest guards. So we're spending time and money to retrain them, provide communication equipment and gadgets for them, so that they can at least man the forest and stop the atrocity of illegal felling of trees. Like I said, I could go on and on and on. But it's been a long day. I did a long trip overnight and I haven't had time to rest much. But just to assure you that we are beginning to create opportunities. It's not easy. It's tough. The toughest part is just changing the mindset. Telling a big man that being a big man means nothing if your people are poor. Being a rich man means nothing if the community you live in is poor. Being a leader means nothing if your followers are poor. It's trying to get that mindset change. That is the biggest challenge we have. And so with the benefit of social media, Those who have money and rich, they obviously are misusing it. But I'm sure many of you who know will try and counter them to say enough is enough. Our people, it's time for us to move forward. It's time for us to make progress. We don't have any excuses. We can't all sit down and start lamenting and blaming and cursing each other today. We are where we have found ourselves. The issue is, how do we get out of it? But one thing is certain. We cannot get out of it if we continue to behave the way we behaved in the past that led us into where we are. And what is important is not us. It's about the future. Today we know the future we can create. It's the next generation that is most important. So we should now think less about us and more about the children and the future generation. And by the grace of God, Edo will prevail. Thank you very much.